Today, I thought it'd be fun to do another part of this challenge. This is episode 3. If you've missed the first 2 parts, I will link them down below or in a card up above so you can catch up on where we're at. My goal is to use down a Scrawlrbox, all of the contents in it, and see how long that takes, how much artwork I can create with it. And above, you can see the pencils and how far down they are. That top pencil is an unsharpened ChromaFlow pencil. This is the swatch page. This is the previous art from the previous videos. Like I said, if you want to see those being created, I will link them down below. And today I was wondering, do I want to do something with the colored pencils? Do I want to use the paint markers? Do I want to use the FineLiner? Do I want to use everything all together? I was really at a bit of a loss, and I was looking at the pencils like, I already did something with the pencils on 2 spreads. Kind of want to do something else. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to grab the FineLiner and I'm going to do some sketching with it just to warm up and see how I feel. Because I will admit I've been in a bit of a funk, and that's because I've been really busy with my day job and just things in general. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do some sketching with the FineLiner and see how that goes. And then I was like, oh no, the pencil has put a real dent on this page. I hope that's not going to cause me any problems. But it did not. I was able to work around it, and it was just a little bit wobbly there in the middle, but it worked out just fine. So I thought, okay, what am I going to draw today? What can I fill these 2 pages with? And I thought I would just start with some simple gemstones. I'd sketch those out and go from there. And if I was going to fill them in with the paint markers, or if I was going to use the colored pencils, I'd wait and see until I've actually swatched everything in and sketched it up and seen how I felt at the end of that. So I'm just drawing all by hand, freehand. It's a wonky circle. It's not a perfect circle, but that's okay because I just wanted to loosen up, get to drawing, put something down on the paper. And then I thought, okay, I got the circle done. I got the facets in there. Let's draw a square one. I'm blanking on the name of this cut, but it's a pretty simple one. It's just a box within a box and then 2 lines on it. One line from each corner. And then I thought, okay, you know what, let's make it into the diamond shape. So it's basically just rotated a little bit, but it's the exact same stone, just so I could shade it in a little differently, just to add something different to the page. And then I thought, okay, I did a round already. Let's do an oval now with the same kind of facet cut to it. I was looking up some examples since I'm not totally fluent in it, these other cuts. So it was a little tricky, but I got there in the end. They're not perfectly drawn. They're not perfect shapes in any possible way. This is just, a pure sketchbook page pretty much, and I'm just going with it. And if I make error, I make an error, and I just draw a thicker line over it somewhere else to kind of compensate for it. And the lines are a bit wonky and a bit all over the place, but you know what? Let's just warm up my hand, warm up my wrist, draw some shapes, and just draw some shapes and draw some facets in them and go from there. I did draw quite a few different ones on this page here. This one was a duplicate because I wanted to do diamonds around it. Thought that would be fun just to add some extra diamonds and to draw this one again, since this is pretty much the basic diamond shape. I thought I could do a little bit better than that first one. That first one's pretty wonky. I should have done these in pencil and then went over it with the FineLiner, but I was a little too impatient. I just wanted to get started and do something. Just do something. Put something on the page. And then I thought, okay, now we'll do some small diamonds around it, and those will have less facets. I'll keep them pretty simplified so I can add shadow and shading to them. And that's pretty much what I did. It's just drawing some circles, trying to keep them all similar sized, and hope that when I get around to where they meet up, that I don't have one that's super tiny or super big to fill the space. And I was like, okay, I gotta keep these all pretty similar. I think I did fairly okay. A couple of them are bigger than the others, but then the last one was pretty close to in size to the rest. And then I just drew in a simple facet marker there. I later change it and do a circle on the inside just to make it look a little more like a gemstone, I think. So it's just a little bit of live and learn on this page, a little practice, working out ideas, trying out things. It's not going to be a perfect page. It's going to be pretty rough and pretty sketchy, but I hope that inspires you to also try and draw these. I mean, look how wonky mine are. Just, you can't do any worse than I am. I'm just freehanding it here. You can do it with a pencil. You can do it like with a ruler and everything, so you have perfect shapes. I just wanted to put some shapes down and draw them and draw the facets as best I could. And this one was really tricky because it was only later that I realized that it was the squares that make the center. Like on the circle, it's just basically two squares. It's two squares, but they're kind of at an angle and they're a little elongated. And that's how you get the facets on this one. And it was only later did I figure out how the lines all go, and you'll see me draw that in a bit here. Let me get in these last lines. I'm looking at an image and I'm like, okay, there's a line here, there's a line here. Where are these other lines going? I'm like, I know there's supposed to be a triangle here, there's a kite shape here, but how do I get to there? There should be like one line. And that was a little tricky. But it's like once you know where you're going, it becomes a lot easier to see where the lines go, and then you kind of just remember it. Like, okay, this is where the lines are, and this is how you get the triangles. Because you see the bottom part, I'm missing one triangle there, and I'm like, why am I missing a triangle there? And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's because this line needs to extend, and this one needed to go a little further down, as you see there. And then you see I got my extra triangle in there. Oh, I was like, oh, oopsie. I'm doing this in FineLiner. There is no erasing. Whoops. Now, you see I'm drawing these squares. It's basically just two squares overlapping one another. And you just got to kind of remember for each gem shape where those squares lie. It's pretty much for almost all of them, I think. Yeah, because every cut is usually made of kites and like triangle shapes. That's how almost all are, so you get the most brilliance out of a stone. I'm trying to think if there are any others. Not off the top of my head, other than they're just more complex ones over top of one another, pretty much, from what I can recall, from what I know so far, what I've learned so far. And now this is like a cushion cut stone, since the edges are rounded, and it's pretty much the same thing as what I saw, which is two squares at an angle to one another that created the table and the facets around the side. And see, there's one, and then you just like turn it, and then you have a little bit of a turn, and then you got the same square, and then see, look, you got all these diamonds and kites that you can connect up. It was pretty close. It wasn't exact, but close enough for a first try. So that's what I was doing, is just like first try, first learning here. And you pretty much, yeah, it's pretty mathematical, pretty simple once you know where they're supposed to go. I do draw another heart shape, and that one is kind of tricky because it's not exactly the same, but that's because it's not a symmetrical shape, so that makes it a little more difficult. And I was a little bit off center on this one, but it's close enough. As you can see, yeah, it's a little off crooked. And then I drew a heart, and the heart was a little too hearty shaped. It should have been a little flatter, because the true heart stone is a little more flat on the sides. It's not as round as like the Valentine's Day hearts that you get and everything like that. It's a little more squared off. And it's one of my favorite gem shapes because it is very unique. You do not see very many heart-shaped gemstones in real life. Most are rounds or squares. So this one's really tricky because it's kind of, well, once you get the center part in, where the heart part is, the heart within the heart, it's just kind of like squaring it off so you can again make those diamond shapes, those triangle shapes with kites. That's pretty much what you're trying to get down to. You're trying to get down to a flat surface where you can then break it down into these triangles and kite shapes around the table of the stone. So that's what I was doing. I was like looking at this image. I'm like, okay, where's this line go? Where's that line go? It's kind of like this. And I'm trying to picture in my mind also the gemstone in my head. What did the cuts look like so that I can try and replicate it. And because I looked at somebody else's drawing, because if you look at a real gemstone, it's really hard to see exactly where all the lines are, because when somebody else draws it, they also already simplify it down for you, and that helps tremendously. Otherwise, it's just, you can get so easily overwhelmed, and this is also why I don't want to attempt realism yet, because that is just very overwhelming, I think, for me right now. Right now, I just want to be able to draw simple gemstones and shade them and make them look with depth and semi realistic. That's my goal for now. And see, look, I'm just drawing triangles and kite shapes all around it. That's basically it. And then you always remember that the light is coming from the top left, so that's how I'm going to shade these accordingly here in a little bit, and just like figuring out where are these other kite shapes and triangles. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's where they are. You kind of get a bit of a feel for it. And then I was like, okay, also the page is a little empty. Let's draw in a couple more gems around the page. Yeah, apparently I wasn't totally warmed up yet because some of my circles are looking very ovally, very uncircled. But hey, I just wanted to fill the space in between, since I was still like, what more can I do? What do I want to do? What am I going to do on the second page? Am I going to use the paint markers? Am I going to use the colored pencils? I don't know. I was still waffling around in my head. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? That's why sometimes I did have to cut out some bits, because I was just standing there holding the pen, twirling it in my hand, thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to do these in color? Should I add color to these? Should I just leave them as fine liners? Should I use the paint markers? Because I've hardly used the paint markers. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just shade these in with this fine liner. And then I will see where I want to go, if I want to add any colors or whatnot to these. And I had so much fun filling these in with just the fine liner that I ended up just using just the fine liner for both spreads. I couldn't believe that was able to be done, and I got fairly decent results. I'm not going to complain about them. I thought they turned out fairly good. I mean, considering where I started and how I was feeling by the time I was done drawing both pages, I felt pretty good about the drawings. They look pretty good. I mean, they're not spectacular. I'm not going to hang them up on my fridge or something, but they are definitely good to be in the sketchbook and to be using up the materials. And they were good practice. So I have not drawn in like 2 weeks now, I think it is. Whenever I put up my last video, part 2 of this, that's the last time I actually drew. So I consider these a win. In my book, these are all winners for now. I mean, I know I can do a lot better, and especially if I would have taken my time and did a pencil and erased it and, you know, got out a compass and all those things. But I just wanted to actually draw something and create some depth to them and just have maybe a sketchy page. Maybe that's what I needed today, was just a sketchy page. So as you see here, I decided to add a circle to create that table look instead of just having the cross symbol there, and then putting some simple highlights in. And just that little bit already did give them kind of a bit of depth. I was a little amazed. And I was thinking, okay, if I do them a little smaller, I took a little more time, I can definitely get some depth to these, just as simple, basic supporting characters, let's call them, to the big stones. So that was what I was practicing with. I was like, how much do I need to color? How far? How little? Do I need to add more shading to them? Or can I get away with just a couple of lines? Or should I have done just the circle with the circle inside and a little bit of shading? Or yeah, that's what I was thinking about while I was doing each one. I'm like, can I do just a line? Do I got to do a triangle? Do I need to do a full square? Or how much shading is necessary to kind of achieve that little bit of depth and a little bit of signaling, hey, this is a little tiny gemstone of some kind. I mean, right now they are uncolored, so I guess they're diamonds, I would call it. So even though this is tone gray paper, so whatever gemstone that would be, terrible quality diamonds, I guess, since they're gray colored. So that's what I was doing. I was like, okay, and then I drew another one and I did just the circle and no T in it, and then I thought, okay, that needs a little bit more. I was like, oh shoot, I drew this center circle a little too small, and I was like, oh, okay, well, at least if I add a little bit more shading to it and I outline it a little more, that I definitely think I can get what I was looking for. And this one I just went on gut feeling over where the shading should be. I mean, if you look at the stone on the top left, pretty much you just followed that example. The darkest part is in that kind of top left part of that middle open piece. And then one of the facets across from it, you can pick which one you want. Some people do both of them there. Some people just do one totally dark and then the other one a little dark. I chose to do both in dark. And then you just, fill in the others, drawing the lines in since it would all radiate out from the center there, giving it a little bit of depth. And you make sure to keep the two facets next to that dark center part clean and empty, or you can go back in with a white gel pen or a white paint marker, because that is where the highlights are going to be, the reflections of it. And I added a little bit of like a cast shadow on that top left just to try to give it a little bit more depth, but it didn't exactly turn out as I'd hoped. But once I added in a bit of a drop shadow on the bottom right, that did go a lot better. That did give me a little bit more depth to my gems here on the page, and that I did like. So next time I will not add that full, like, multiple lines there, but just like one little line on the top left, just to create a bit of sharpness and a bit like, so it sticks off the page a little bit, but not too much darkness, because otherwise it's looking a little awkward with too much on the top left for darkness on the outside of the gemstone, when the shadow should be on the bottom right of the gemstone. So that's what I was doing there. And then I was like trying to make it a little scribbly so it doesn't look like it's part of the drawing of the stone, the outline of the stone, but more of like it's just like a shadow of the stone. So that's what I was doing there. And then this oval again follows the same procedure. Top left, kind of a pie shape. You can make it as big as you, well, not as big as you want, but you can do like a couple lines over is what I usually do, and then just fill it in with some little streaks or straight lines coming out of it to give it like a shadow, a bit more reflection type. Since I'm not using any color here, I'm just using the FineLiner. You kind of got to use not stippling. Oh, I'm blanking. Yeah, just a little bit of line work there to create the like sense of depth and reflection in it. That's what I was working on there, and that's what I went for. And now for the square ones, I thought, okay, I kind of remember what I had learned when I took my drawing gems class. I didn't exactly remember, and I couldn't find my examples from that class, so I was like trying to remember, and I just kind of guessed at what we had done. So I kind of made it my own thing a little bit, but again, following the same rules. Top left on the table there is where the darkest part's going to be, and then the facet across from it is going to be dark. And then all the others are pretty much in the light, so they're going to have like reflection or anything, something like that going through it, and just added some hatching lines to create a bit of a shadow on the others, since they wouldn't be pure white unlike the top left one, because that's where the reflection would come in at. And I was thinking about this one that was square on, and I was trying to remember, I think we did the full top left like triangle in full black and full darkness of the color, but I didn't want to do that because I thought that would be a little too much with this FineLiner, and you wouldn't get that effect. So I just did a square out of it, And I thought that turned out pretty neat. I did draw in the facets that you would see that would go below the table just to give it some depth. And as you can see, that turned out pretty well. I got some depth there, and then I was shading in the opposing facet to give them some more depth. And again, I did something similar where I just went from the corner there with the darkest part, and then I went to the up top there just with some lines to simulate a little bit of dark, but not full blackness like I did at the bottom there. And then I went to the left hand side and did some streaks out that way and just did some darkness. And I think I created some nice depth there with just a couple lines and nothing more to it, as you can see. And I hope that you guys all give this a try as well and see how it goes for you, or maybe you just like watching. That's cool too. I do want to remind everyone that if you like this kind of thing, please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. I'd like to also hear if you guys tried to draw any of these gems. If you do and you post something, please tag me. I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, here on YouTube. I also have a Discord you can join and submit your pictures in there as well into the community. And I'd like to see if you tried to draw any of these, and I can try and give you any tips if you need any help, or if you want to know anything, I can try and answer those questions. And here we go on filling in the next round, and it's pretty much the same as what I did on the top there. I did a few different things. I was trying out some different ideas about just drawing the lines all the way through the facets and not keeping within the facet, to see what kind of look I could get there. Again, also on that table, you keep that bottom right hand corner there also empty because that's where the reflection is. So that also you have to keep white, as well as that top left triangle, because that's where the reflection is. And I just drew some more lines in, and then it was time to do all those little diamonds that I put around it. And I thought, okay, I really liked doing the circle. So I have a circle within a circle, basically. So I went around on all of those just to make them look a little more like stones, I think. And I really liked how that turned out. And I'm trying to remember, did I? Oh yes, I did do some shading on those as well. But I kept it really minimal, just like a little dot and a little bit of shading on the outside of the inner circle. As you see, it doesn't take much to give it a little bit of depth. Again, the main star is that center stone, and these are just like supporting cast members, and they shouldn't take any attention, so they should be as simple and as basic as possible, since that center stone is the, number one, the big eye catcher, and these are just to help bring out some more brilliance and sparkliness to whatever you're designing or drawing. Pendant, necklace, ring, earrings, whatever it is. So that's why I kept them very simple and just did a little bit in the center and then opposing it on the outside, just kind of like what we did on the big stone, but then just in a far, far simpler manner, where you just do a little bit of shading and shadow to create that depth. And you do it to every single one, and every single one gets it in the exact same spot because they are round and the light is coming from the same position on all of them. You just, it's just the same thing on every single one. It's a great way to practice because it's just repetition of completing that over and over again. Now the heart one. That one was a little more tricky because it has more of like little slices in the center rather than like kind of triangle-y pieces. It's a little bit more like a really odd shaped triangle because of the heart shape itself, and the reflection point is a little less on the center of it, unlike the rounds and the square, the oval, the cushion cut, all of those. So I was just like, okay, what am I going to do for this one? What parts am I going to keep the light? Where am I going to do all the like lines to simulate reflection in the stone to give it that sparkle and that depth to it? So I'm just kind of working my way around. I usually start always in the center and work my way out from there, because then when I'm drawing and filling in these outside facets, I can continued the lines on so that it looks like one continuous piece, because that is how the lines are based on how the stones are cut and everything. That's just how light reflects and refracts through it. I mean, you can, if you see the hyperrealism, they have way more, but this is just a simplified version of it. So that's why I just keep it pretty simple like this and just draw some lines, and you just have some facets that are all white just so that you get that brilliant look without doing anything super hyper realistic or anything like that. And now we have this last one that I'm filling in. Again, it follows pretty much that same principle as the round and the cushion cut and the oval, but I saw that I didn't put a drop shadow on the heart, so I had to quickly add that in. I got a little bit distracted there for a second. And we're filling in that centerpiece. Again, just following the same rules as I did on the other ones. As you can see, it's really quite simple to do once you know where things go. And you just fill it in and you draw your lines and add some hatching to the rest and leave a couple of them bright white, and you don't fill in all the rest. And you just make sure everything radiates out from that center point. And you have a couple dark ones. You leave a little bit of white on the table there so that you got some more depth and reflection and refraction through it. I know I sound like a record, the same thing over and over again, but it's very important to keep practicing and trying. And you know, every time you can improve, you can create your own style, you can create your own look, your own thing to them. I mean, I was thinking about using the white paint marker to add 2 or 3 white dots to them, but in the end I decided not to, because I just wanted to use just the fine liner and keep it pretty simple. Now, onto the second page. For this one, I did use a pencil. I had to, because I was going to create a ribbon of metal. And because of that, I had to work out and make sure that I was consistent on the thickness of the metal when I was going around in the bend, and I needed to also work out where it would fold over on top of one itself and where it would not. And now that I'm thinking about it, did I do it right? I don't know. We'll call it a fantasy bend. You'll see in the end here. Did I do it right? Does it make sense? Is it correct? I'm not 100% sure now that I'm thinking about it and looking at it. I'm like, oh, maybe that shouldn't have bent like that. But hey, it does look really cool in the end. I really like this one, how it turned out. Yes, I'm just using a simple black wing pencil here to sketch it out. You can use any pencil you want, mechanical pencil. I drew very, very lightly so that I could easily erase it afterwards and not damage this paper, because like I said, this paper is pretty thin. I don't know. It's okay. It's great for like sketching, but I would not do any final artwork on it. I think it's way too thin for that. It's not my preferred kind of paper. I'm also not a big tinted gray paper person, I'm finding out. I thought it'd be really cool because, you know, it's not white, not pure white, and then everything has already something to it, but I don't know. It's okay. It's okay, but not my favorite. I think I prefer white or cream colored paper for my drawings. Even though with just using this black fine liner, it does look pretty neat in the end, I think. It kind of gives it a real sketchy, real sketchy look to it. I mean, something to say for that as well. So here I'm bending the metal around and trying to keep it the same thickness sort of all the way around, and drawing the end there, and I'm making sure the twist isn't too tight because it is metal, so it should have a bit of roundness to it, because otherwise you'd have like some bends in the metal. You want to keep it kind of fluid and kind of rounded. And I was like, oh, should I add the end piece here? But then I was like, no, would you even see that? Is it even pointing that way? No, it is not. I decided against that. As you see here, I have a bit of a tough time just erasing that little bit from the paper. It was, I don't know, as I said, it's not my favorite paper. But hey, I'm gonna get through it. Just a few more pages. Oh, who am I kidding? I've barely scratched the surface. I got a lot more pages to do in this book. But we're getting through it. And then I got it all kind of sketched in as I wanted it. Making little tweaks here and there because I wanted the thickness of the metal to be kind of symmetrical throughout the whole piece so that it looks like one piece of metal that was kind of bent, twisted, and turned. And once I got going on adding the shadows and leaving the highlighted parts empty, I think it turned out pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it in the end. I think I almost like it better than the gemstones. I don't know. It's a tie. It's a tie. We'll call them a tie. Again, just perfecting up that bend and everything before I go in with the fine liner, because once the fine liner is down, that is permanent. There is no more erasing. There is no more going back and saying, oopsie. So here I'm making some final adjustments. I was thinking about going over it with my kneaded eraser before I did the fine liner, but then I thought, no, I'm just going to do the fine liner over the pencil, and whatever I can erase afterwards is what I can erase afterwards, and I'm just not going to worry about it. Again, I was still a little bit in a funk. I'm like, ugh, is this even turning out? Does this even look right? And I thought, I'm just going to go draw in the swirls. If it doesn't really make sense in the end, then it doesn't make sense in the end, and whatever, that's fine. I did like try to keep the width, as I said, a bit symmetrical, and I was like, I was debating about using the paint markers on this side, but then I thought, no, I'm really going to stick to just using the fine liner as I had previously thought about it, and was going to go for it because the other page is just the fine liner, so I'm just going to go just fine liner this time again and see what we come up with. And on a next part 4, part 5, I'm not sure, maybe then I will use only just the 2 paint markers, or the 2 paint markers plus the fine liner, because the colored pencil does not like going over the paint markers too well. It's like they are super slick and the pencils are soft. I'm not exactly sure why it can't go over it very well, but it does not seem to want to really go over even the white or anything like that. It's like more of a resist, so I'm gonna have to think about how to incorporate the 2 together, or do like what I did with the sunglasses. You know, I just have the sunglasses be a color and then the pencils are a different part of the sketch altogether, and they don't overlap one another pretty much. I think I did pretty well here on outlining, and I was trying to pull the lines as best I could, trying to keep a steady hand, and I was like, okay, let's keep loose, don't get too tight, because I did wobble at the top there, and I was like, oh, okay, I just need to relax, don't get too tight, turn the paper as necessary so that you can actually draw the line without it becoming too wobbly. And so that's what I was doing. I was like, okay, let's pull the line as best we can, trying not to wobble as much as possible. And oh, a little bit of a wobble there, but I made it around. I was like, oh, thank God, I made it around. Oh, okay. And then I was like, now, let's see what of the pencil I can erase that is a little too much still before I start filling it in. So I erased as much as I could. I was trying to be careful with the paper, because I know with thin paper like this, if you do one little too much and it crinkles, it is going to crinkle like there is no tomorrow, and there is no fixing that. So I was like, okay, just kind of gently go over it, erasing as much as possible and getting it out. And then I was like, oh, all these little crummies. Oh my goodness. So I used my little sweeper truck that I got in a Zimpop box. It's like, it's always on my desk. Now is the perfect time to use it. He sweeps up all the little crummies pretty well. I mean, it's amazing. I love Japan. Who thinks of these things? But it's on my desk. I use it all the time. I think it's so much fun. And it sweeps up the crumbs from my mat pretty well, really easily. I can just like drive it over. It picks them all up just like that. Now, time for the shadows. And for this, again, keeping in mind, the light is coming from the top left, what part of this metal is in the shade, what part of the metal is in the light. And here's where I was thinking, should I use the paint marker? Should I do that? And I was like, no. Stick with the original plan. Stick with the original plan. So, and now begins the process of filling this all in and doing all these, well, they're not really hatch marks. They're long hatch marks. They're straight marks. I'm not sure exactly, but it was quite soothing and, oh, I don't want to say mind-numbing, but you can easily just get lost in the process. And I was just thinking about, okay, this part's in the shadow. That's what I'm going to call this. Let's fill it in and block out how much I should go. And then I thought, okay, but then this is going to be coming towards the light. I should do a few lighter strokes and just kind of feeling it out. And since this is a fine liner and there is no erasing and I didn't want to have to go over it with anything to correct it with the white paint marker or whatever, I was just kind of sketching it out a little bit while I was doing it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this all a little darker so it's really deep in shadow. And so you get that, already start to feel that 3D effect to it. Just with that little bit there, I think already you can already start seeing it come alive and, well, not come alive, but become more 3D like. And see, as the metal turns towards the light, you get less of those hatch marks. So then it becomes a lot lighter. And then on this part would be definitely in the shadow since it's on the back side of that piece. So then it would be all filled in. I didn't fill it in so that you can still see like those lines that I made. I think that gives it some nice texture, a little bit more believability because it's not just solid black, which I think is what I would have had if I would have used the paint markers. So I'm glad I went with the fine liner here just to simulate and create this piece of metal bent around into this swirly shape. And we just keep working our way around. As you can see, it just, yeah, I'm just kind of feeling my way out, and I do like some parts really, really dark where I know it should be fully dark. And then as I get away from that, I'm just kind of trying to figure out, okay, where would the light now be hitting it? Where should I lighten up those strokes so that it looks like light is touching there? And how thick should I make it? And I kind of draw in that, the edge of the metal, just to give it a bit more, because you know, the edge would still create a little bit of a cast shadow over it because it's a thick, you know, it's got some thickness to it, so it would create a little bit of shadow over the edge. It wouldn't be perfectly all in the light. And then as you see, I'm just like, okay, yeah, that should be a little darker, and then I kind of just work my way outwards so that it gets lighter and lighter, you know, fewer strokes in between, adding a bit of width in between them. And then I was like, maybe this should have a little bit of darkness there because it is curved over so hard onto itself. So I added some more lines there because otherwise it was looking a little, I don't know, it didn't look right. So I just added a bit more in. And since I have only the gray of the paper and the black fine liner, I kind of need to, yeah, just work on it and go bit by bit and see what feels right and what needs to have a bit more, a bit less, and what needs to be filled in a bit more or not as much. So that's what I'm just doing. I'm just kind of, as I fill it in, and keeping in mind the top part there that I will add some shadow and lines to that as well, because it will need that as well, since it is, you know, it's going to have parts that hits the light, other parts that don't get any light. So that's just pretty much how I handled this as I went around. And I'm really happy how this turned out. Again, I hope you guys give this a try as well. You see how simple it is. It's not too difficult once you see somebody else do it, I think. And I've got this all in real time. The only parts I cut out is, like I said, is where I stopped and I was fiddling and I was thinking about things, or I got distracted, or something came up. That's the only parts that I cut out. I did not cut out any of the drawing parts, any of the sketching parts, any of the coloring in parts. That's why this video is super long, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope it's very informative to you, and you learn something from it. and give this a try as well. I mean, it doesn't have to be metal and gems, but maybe the thought process or what I do rings true and helps you in whatever you draw. And you can think about, hey, this is where the light's coming from. Yeah, I should really take that into consideration, and I can do a few brush strokes here or a few pen strokes here, or a little scratches there, a little of this or that, to add more depth to your own drawings. And don't be afraid to add some more darks to it. Usually something doesn't look 3D because we're too afraid to add more of the darks to it. And as Lindsay says, she always goes in with her darkest color first, because then if you mess up, it's already at the beginning of whatever you're drawing, and you can draw it again, or you can trace it again and try again. So that's what I try to do too. I try to go in with the dark part first. That way if I mess up, I can just trace it and redraw it again and give it another go. Or I can just say, okay, that part's a little too dark, and then I work around it and I learn from my mistake. And I think that's the best way to learn, is to try, make mistakes, and then you learn. If somebody tells you exactly how to do it, I think you learn the least. At least that's been my take on things, that I usually learn more by trying myself. And if I mess up, I mess up, but then I learn from it as well. I think that's great learning moments, and you learn way more by trying and doing yourself. And I mean, yes, you should watch somebody else to get some tips, get some ideas, you know, at least have an idea where the direction is going. But definitely, you've got to get out your supplies. You got to try, put ink, alcohol marker, paper, pencil. You got to put them together and try yourself, because just watching, you're not going to know you can do it too. You're not really learning then if you're just watching. You need to try and do it yourself as well. And I hope you guys try this as well. You see, it's pretty simple. I mean, there's not much to it. It's just drawing some straight lines vertically between the two pieces of metal, the two outlines that I did. And you just leave some spots that are light colored, or the color of the paper, or you can go back in with white, whatever you want to do, just so that it looks like light is hitting that part there. And then you got other parts that are in a shadow, so then those are darker in color. And that is really that's all there is to it. I mean, to most things. And sure, I'm just using a black FineLiner here, but I think that same thought process can be applied when you're using color as well. And maybe it's even better just to use black and gray and get that down before you start introducing color, so you can get the right tones and right saturations down. And because if you are adding color, you know, that's easy to have them all be too same, and then you get no depth as well. So I've been thinking about that as well, and I had a couple ideas over what I wanted to try next after I'm done with this, and I'll let you know how that goes. I'm gonna try with some of my current supplies that I have here and test out a couple ideas I have, a couple theories I have, because I've seen some things and I'm like, I wonder if I can do that with alcohol markers as well. So I'm going to give that a try, and I'll let you know how it goes. And if it works out, or maybe even if it doesn't work out, maybe I'll still record it and say, hey, this is what I tried and it did not work for me. And, you know, maybe somebody in the comments will say, oh, well, you just needed to do this and then it would work. So that's what I'm going to try and put out there and see how it goes. Probably will be maybe next week. I'll do a bonus video of that. It depends. I got to see how my time is, because I do have a day job, so I can't do too much during the week, but I will give it a try and let you know how it is. And I'll post in the community when that bonus video goes up, and so you know, because I'm doing this Scrawlrbox challenge every Tuesday. And then on Friday, I have an unboxing video, because I really need to get through those. And I really want to get through the Scrawlrbox. So that's my 2 videos for the week right now. But if I do squeeze in a bonus video, I will definitely post about it in the community tab to let you know that there's an extra video. In case YouTube doesn't let you know, you know how it is with notifications. But hey, if you really want to know, turn on the bell, subscribe, like and comment on my channel, and then hopefully YouTube will push my videos to you on your For You page, or they will at least be in your subscription section in the app so you can see when I post. And if you belong to my Discord, you will get also a notification through Discord that I posted a video. That sends out a notification to everybody as well. So that's also one way to be notified if I've posted a video or not. Now you see here I am shading the top, the thickness of the metal. Again, my philosophy here kind of is wherever the wide part is having light, then the thickness will be in shadow. That was kind of where I was going with this. That's what my thought process was. So anything that was light didn't have anything, and anything that was in shadow was then light. I kind of just did the opposite of what was on that wider piece of the metal. That is what I did, and that was my thought process. I don't know if that's correct or true, or if that's right or not, but I do like the end result. Is that what matters most? That I like the end result, even if it doesn't make 100% sense? Does that work? Is that how art is? Even if it doesn't make sense, it still is right? Is it kind of like one of those MC Escher prints that it makes 0 sense, but it makes sense at the same time because your brain wants to make sense of it, so it has to make sense? That's what I'm going to go for. It's an MC Escher type of piece of metal that's swirling around. You know, one of those endless staircases that can't possibly be because it just can't be. Right? Let me know. What do you think? Does this piece of metal twisting make sense or not? I'm going to say it does. I'm going to say it's my impression of MC Escher, but then in metal for jewelry. So as you see there, I got the dark part where the light is, and then I got the light where the dark parts are on the white pieces. And that's just how I filled it all in. I did not do a drop shadow on this one because I wasn't too ecstatic about how it ended up next to the gemstones, so I just left this piece as is with no drop shadow on it whatsoever, and I think it turned out pretty clean and neat. Probably also helped that by now my brain was warmed up, my hand was warmed up, my arm was warmed up, I was thinking clearly, and I could actually, you know, be at peace with what I was creating and not worrying. And I was almost to the finish line here, so I was really, pretty carefree, and I was like, I'm about done. So even if I make a mistake, I'm about done because this page is filled and I'm calling it no matter what. But I don't think I made a mistake based on what I was going for and where I had started this and what my thought process was. So I think it turned out to be a success. I think both pages complement one another pretty well. One is filled, the other one is a bit more open and flowing and free, I think. Which side do you guys like better? The left side with the gems, the right side with just this piece of metal? And did you like how this came out just using the FineLiner in this, simple drawings? Have you ever done something where it's just one material, one thing, one pen, one pencil, and use just that one to create something like anything you've drawn, just with one FineLiner or one colored, well, can you do one colored pencil? I don't know, maybe you can. What do I know? It could be something neat if you do this with just a colored pencil. I wonder how that would turn out. I might have to try that. That sounds like a good idea to fill a page with. Just use a colored pencil and draw gems or this like a swirly piece of metal and just use one color, or maybe I'll use all the colors and use like the light colors for the highlights and the cooler colors for the shadows. Oh, that would be something. I could do exactly this, but then like all the light colors for the highlights and then the cool colors for all the shadows. Oh, that would be really fun. I've been wanting to do something similar to that. I've seen a lot of drawings where people do that kind of artwork, and I think that looks always really neat, but I've yet to get my brain to wrap around that fact. But maybe if I take this and then I do exactly that, it might work, it might come out. Oh, what a good idea. the things you think of when you're doing a voiceover for artwork that you just created. Things that don't come to mind while you're creating. So, this is the Lyra FineLiner that I use to create these two images. What do you guys think? Left or right? The piece of metal or the gemstones? Which one is your favorite? Maybe one of the gemstones is your favorite, or is it the twisted piece of metal? I'd like to know. I'd also like to thank my Patreons. You guys are the best. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I also want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to me here on YouTube, also to the new subscribers, and to everyone who is still subscribed. Thank you so much. We're on our way. We're getting new subscribers. We're going to get there. And I can't wait to get more of you on board to try jewelry and gem drawings and metal drawings. And I'm going to link the part 2 and part 1. I have a playlist for those. They will be linked in the card and down below. And I want to say thank you for watching. And until next time, guys, bye!